On another matter, the role of the Bible is undergoing change. For many years, the Bible was studied in perhaps dull read-a-verse and comment sessions, often resulting in the pooling of ignorance. The principal use of the Bible by preachers, however, was to provide proof texts for various issues. Now, however, with the decline of those issues, people are asking why they should study the Bible at all, and many are not. Inspiration is now drawn from more titillating secondary sources. Categorically, members of the churches of Christ today are essentially biblically illiterate. For others, the shift from the rational analytical to the emotional base has led many to study the Bible for what it can do for their feelings or their self-realization, not employing strict literary and historical controls in interpretation, but scavenging secondary sources for emotionally satisfying understandings. The Bible is now being reinterpreted by many with terminology and concepts that are rapidly changing churches at the pew level. There is an expectation among some that expository preaching is not entertaining enough. The pulpit is not without some blame, as many do not have the exegetical skills necessary to derive their sermons from the text, but rely instead upon tapes from noted evangelical preachers or upon tapes of other preachers who have relied upon those evangelical resources, yet have the nerve to call this expository preaching. The result of these not-so-innocent shortcuts in providing apparent biblical basis for messages is that meanings are being assigned to texts apart from responsible biblical analysis. This affects us at the bottom line of our identity. The Bible may be held aloft in today's churches of Christ, but it cannot be said to be now the primary generative source for the basic religious thinking of many of our preachers. Historically and theoretically, we may have heralded the primacy of the Bible, but unfortunately, the functional role of the Bible is very open to question in this movement today. That alone creates much of our present confusion and uncertainty. Uncritical reliance upon secondary sources for biblical interpretation is but another form of biblical illiteracy. Lack of consensus on a methodology and biblical interpretation that would bring strict literary and historical controls to bear in interpretation nullifies any meaningful attempt to go back to the Bible. In this vein, it must be acknowledged that our current understandings of canon, inspiration, inerrancy, infallibility, and authority of Scripture were all set in terms of sectarian necessity. Although not a few problems present themselves regarding these crucial biblical concerns, the lack of freedom to investigate such topics afresh has resulted in an inadequate doctrine of Scripture for non-sectarian investigation of the text. The lack of careful delineation of these matters results in no little uncertainty surrounding the role of the Bible in contemporary restoration thought.